Welcome to your unit on measurement. As before, pause the video and write down any notes when asked to, and try our reactivity before you go on to the answers. At the conclusion of this lesson, you will come away with two understandings. One, that the area is within the boundary of the shape, and the second is that all area is measured in square units, such as millimetres square, metres square, centimetres square, kilometres square, acres and hectares. Please copy these into your book now. You need to pause the video now and copy each one of these words into your book and write a brief definition. If you're not sure of the definitions, please feel free to look up on your online dictionary. Pause your video now, please. As you can see from the flowchart below, this is very similar to when we were measuring lengths, except you'll notice that we're talking about squared numbers. So when we're going from millimetres to centimetres, you will be dividing by 10 squared. When we go from centimetres to metres, you will be dividing by 100 squared, and so on and so on. It's exactly the same as what we were doing before, except it's by a squared number. So instead of just by 10, it is 10 times 10. It's similar to length in that when we're going from a big measurement such as kilometres to metres, we will multiply. So it's exactly the same. When you're going from a big measurement to a small measurement, you will multiply. Please write this onto your theory sheet now. And in saying this, exactly the same as length, when we go from a small to a big, such as millimetres to centimetres, we divide. Please pause the video and write this onto your theory sheet now. There's also one other difference that you'll find at the bottom of this table, and that is that hectares is also a measurement. There are 10,000 square metres to a hectare, and if you would like to write onto your theory sheet, there are 4,000 square metres to an acre. The following two slides have the formulas that you will need to know in order to complete this unit. Obviously, you won't have to memorise them, but you will need to be familiar with them. Pause the video and copy them onto your theory sheet, please. Be sure to take note of where the letters are situated on each of the shapes, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. The first worked example on your theory sheet, you'll be asked to convert metric units to squared metric units. If you have a look at the first one, it's asking you to convert 0.081 kilometres squared to metres squared. We're going from a big to small. So if we're going from a big to small unit, then you will multiply. Please make sure that you highlight that in the instruction section on your theory sheet. Remember, we're going from square kilometres to square metres. So when we're talking about squared, it's 1,000 times 1,000 or 1,000 squared. So when you multiply this, you'll go 0.081 times 1,000 squared. If you type that directly into your calculator and press equals, you'll get the answer. Be sure to make sure that you always write down your measurement in metres squared. You'll notice from the next one that we are going from small to big, and we're going from millimetres to metres. There are 1,000 millimetres in a metre. Because we're going from small to big, we're going to divide. So what you will have here is 19,645 millimetres square divided by 1,000 squared. You can square this number out, or you can just enter it into your calculator as 1,000 squared and you'll get the answer. Pause your video now and copy this information onto your theory sheet, please. Here are a few for you to try. Remember, follow your conversion chart that is at the top of your theory sheet, and attempt them before going any further. Pause the video now before looking at the answers. You got all these correct, but if you didn't, perhaps you need to highlight which ones that you had trouble with. Show me you're working and we'll work through it together. Please mark them with a tick if you got them right. For the next worked examples, you'll need to apply the different formulas. Now you'll notice in the question that this one is a rectangle. So the formula that we'll use for a rectangle is area equals length times width. So make sure that you always write the formula before going on any further. Identify what the values of L and W are before substituting into the formula and calculating. You'll always write your area or your units of measure as a square unit. Pause the video now and make sure that you have all of this information copied onto your theory sheet, please. Make a special note of the centimetres squared. This is very important when using measurement. The next shape that we're looking at is obviously a triangle, and you'll notice by the right angle that it is a right angle triangle, so we can use a measurement with perpendicular height. In the question, it asks you to convert it to the smaller unit. The smallest unit from meters and centimeters is obviously centimeters. First thing that you'll do is you will write your formula, and then you will convert 1.8 meters to centimeters. Because it's not a squared unit, we're only going to multiply by 100, and that will give us 180 centimeters. Identify the value of h, which is your perpendicular height, and then substitute into the formula and calculate the area of the triangle. Again, please make sure that you write down the square unit of measure. Pause the video now and write this information into your theory book. Please make special note of the instructions in the question so you'll remember to look for this. The next shape is called a parallelogram. You'll notice that there are 4 parallel lines. Identify the formula and then identify the values of the base and the perpendicular height. Substitute these into the formula, calculate, and using centimetres, write it as centimetres squared, please. Pause the video now and ensure that you have all of this information copied onto your theory sheet. Please attempt the next questions, draw the shape, and then follow the instructions as per the previous examples. If you get stuck, go forward in the movie and you'll find that I've given you the formula before I have given you the answer. Make sure you copy the formula down, identify the values, substitute, and calculate before attempting the next one or moving on. Thank you. Pause the video now, copy the shape into your book and attempt before moving on. This shape is a little different to previous shapes. This one you need to be very careful how you substitute the values. If you're not sure, please look at the next slide and I've identified where A, B and H are for the formulas. This should give you a bit of a clue as to what formula you need to use. You'll notice that this triangle has 3 identified lengths of the sides. Because it's not a right angled triangle, you can't use half times base times height. What you'll need to use with this one is called Heron's formula. Now if you go back in your notes, you'll see that Heron's formula is quite long. Don't be scared by it, it's really easy to use. The first thing you'll have to do is work out what S is equal to. In order to do that, it's half bracket A plus B plus C close bracket. Once you've calculated that, and you should get 12.5, then you'll be able to calculate or substitute into each one of those values. And then click equals, and you should come up with this answer. If you don't, perhaps that's something we need to work through together. Well done, that's the end of the theory for measurement.